Hey everybody, it's your old pal Mike. I hope you're happy, healthy, and safe, and welcome back to the channel. We're going to try something a little different this week as I'm still getting set up in our new apartment. We're going to do a reaction video. That's right, the hottest trend of 2013 is back, baby! Now the reason I'm doing a reaction video is because there is a particular episode of Pawn Stars that people keep sending me because it is of interest to me. But before we get into it, let's get some reaction faces going for the thumbnail. One of those will work? Okay, we're good. Now before I press play, I just want to check. You know this is fake, right? Pawn Stars isn't like a real reality show. This is made up and scripted, and there are auditions and tryouts for getting on the show. I think even Trogley once tried to get on the show and was denied. So please bear in mind that this is not a representation of what might actually go on in a pawn shop or in a guitar shop even. In fact, from experience, I'm pretty certain we're gonna see a truncated version of authentication and, you know, the negotiation process, all of that. So just bear in mind that this isn't real. I'm not expecting them to nail this. All right, let's do it.
All right, let me grab this real quick.
Gotta protect the glass.
Let's set it on this for me. That's cool. It's a Jazzmaster, right?
Yeah, it's a 1962 Jazzmaster.
Hell yeah, that's a 62 Jazzmaster, at least insofar as I can tell. The first thing that I'm seeing is that the guitar appears to be largely original. Now, this is a cursory glance at a 720p video, so, you know, bear in mind that I may not be seeing everything, every detail. The first thing that I zero in on here is actually the veneer fretboard. Now, if you didn't know, Fender Jazzmasters, they were the first model to get rosewood back in 1958. And from 58 until mid-62, right around August, that fretboard was what's known as a slab, a nice thick piece of rosewood with a flat bottom attached to a maple neck. This one happens to be a veneer, which is a thinner, curved piece of rosewood applied to an equally curved fretboard. And a lot of people seem to think that the slab is inherently better. I have both in my collection. It's really not a big deal. Having a slab fretboard isn't going to automatically make your Jazzmaster a better guitar, but I am seeing, you know, original pickup covers, original white knobs, switch tip, the vibrato looks right to me, and that tort has the wide bevel, which reissues do not generally, so that's good. All of that to say, this looks like a really cool late 62 Jazzmaster.
It's got a little bit of buckle rash. It's where your belt buckle hits the guitar while you're playing.
All of my guitars have belt buckle rash. It's partially my fault, partially the previous owner's fault, but I wear a big Star Trek belt buckle. I'm not apologizing for that. Now, there is one thing I would like to point out in this shot, and that is that the body is largely unfaded. When you see Olympic white on an old guitar, you expect it to be a little bit creamy, a little bit yellow, and that is what happens as the clear coat ages, but this one is not. Now, we might be dealing with TV lighting, which may make the guitar a little bit more whitish than it is in person. That is completely fair, and so I'm not going to make any pronouncements on the guitar, but some of you might be thinking, well, it's so white, it might be a refin, but you might be wrong. You see, what happens sometimes in the Fender factory is that guitars in custom colors were often rushed out and therefore didn't receive a clear coat. Now, the clear coat is the thing that actually yellows. The color underneath doesn't usually change. But when a guitar from the 60s didn't get a clear coat, well, they tend to stay the color they actually are rather than yellowing and fading over time. Now, I've seen this happen on Fiesta Red, Seafoam Green, Olympic White is a pretty common one. I've seen it across all models. It just depends on, you know, how many orders were in, how things were rushed in the factory, or if a guitar had to be redone because it got nicked on the assembly line. That also happens. But yeah, some guitars did escape the factory without a clear coat, and they tend not to age. So bear that in mind as we are looking at this guitar.
They all have them.
The big 70s belt buckles, huh?
I'm here at the pawn shop today to sell my 1962 Fender Jazzmaster guitar.
This is true. This is true. I'm pausing really quick to let you know that not only is this correct, but I'm recording this on Leo Fender's birthday, which is August 9th of 2021. He would have been 112 today, Or rather, statistically, he probably wouldn't have. It's so weird when we do that. We're like, happy birthday, William Shakespeare. You would have been
457
years old today. But it's true that Fender was started in 1946, and 2021 is the 75th anniversary. So happy birthday, Leo. Happy birthday, Fender.
I received this guitar as a birthday present in 1966 from my parents. I was 15 years old.
That's cool. When you're buying a guitar of this age, anything you can do to flesh out its story, where it was, who played it, is always a bonus, and sometimes a guitar that is owned by a single person will indeed command a premium. If a person like this comes in and can walk you through the history of the guitar, you can be reasonably certain that there's no funny business going on. You know, most people tend to remember modifications or refinishes, so if you've got this kind of pedigree, that's always a bonus. Now, of course, that's not true across the board. People do weird things to guitars and don't tell you about it, and that's why we go through the whole authentication process, and we don't usually take people's words for it. However, one owner, that's very cool. I love it. And that's a hell of a birthday present. Someone give me a 62 Jazzmaster for my birthday, please. Oh, and before we move on, this is a TV show made for normal people and not people who are obsessed with guitars. So I want to say that these choices that they have, Jazzmasters are played by Elvis Costello and Radiohead's Tom York. That's pretty good. That's pretty middle of the road. Most people are probably going to recognize those names. So yeah, those are good options. I'm sure that you and I could think of like 70 other people who play Jazzmasters that would be cooler or whatever. But your average Pawn Stars viewer is probably not going to recognize the name Nels Cline or Jay Mascis or Jessica Dobson. So yeah, these are pretty okay, safe choices. Hey honey, they talked about Jay Mascis on the TV. That's not happening. All right, moving on.
Beautiful condition. It just looks gorgeous. It's a beautiful guitar. I'm hoping to sell the guitar for $9,000.
So this answers a question that I had that I couldn't tell previously, and that is a patent number vibrato. If you didn't know, the earliest vibratos that were put on 58 to 61, 62 Jazzmasters say Pat penned on the vibrato because the patent was applied for and not yet granted. However, in 62, that changed to a patent number, but the internals of the vibrato didn't really change all that much.
Dollars today.
This is cool. Leo Fender founded Fender Guitars back in, I think, the 40s.
Late 40s, yeah.
46.
I think he mainly started off with amplifiers and Jamaican amp.
Yeah, mainly amplifiers, but also lap steels were the thing back in those days.
Why not make something to play on the amps, right?
Right.
So they came out with guitars. Fender started off with a Telecaster, then the Stratocaster. They were doing really well with Stratocasters, and they wanted a different product to add something to their line, and they came out with a Jazzmaster. They started making them in 1958, and it was basically designed for jazz musicians.
Correct.
The way the body was built on the Jazzmaster was more comfortable than a Stratocaster to play sitting down. You know, if you're in a jazz band, you're sitting on a stool, and that's why it has this particular shape.
I find them a lot more comfortable than Strats. That's me.
As I'm concerned, the buckle rash on the back just makes it cooler.
It's honest.
It's in really good condition. I mean, you don't really see them like this.
You've taken
really good care
excellent care of it. As you can see, I still have the original case and everything that it came with.
That's the original case. I have one of those tucked away from Pancake as well. Those cases fetch quite a premium on their own. Such a premium that I'm like, should I sell mine? Probably not, but we'll see.
What are you looking to do with it, my man?
I'd like to sell it.
Any idea what you're looking to get out of it?
I'd like to get $9,000 out of it.
9,000. You know, when was this filmed? This is season 17, episode 25. Pawn Fellas. Oh, look, the Jazzmaster doesn't even make it into the episode description. That's a travesty. So this ran in July of 2020, meaning that it might have been filmed in 2019, but maybe at the beginning of 2020. I don't know how long they take to produce these. So 9K for that time is pretty right on the market for an Olympic white. Olympic white is a custom color. Custom colors always fetch more than sunburst, which is the most common thing you can get a guitar in. And on top of that, a guitar that's got a one owner provenance, that all adds up to right about where he was. But the pandemic struck, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but the rush on buying instruments for people who needed something to do while they were at home, as well as, people who had extra income because they weren't going out, the guitar prices have skyrocketed in a concerning way. None of the things I like are affordable anymore, and you might be surprised to know that all original 58 Jazzmasters have recently been fetching upwards of $19,000. So, that's not a 62, that's a 58 Gold Guard, but still, prices are on the rise. So these days, you could probably fetch, 12, 14 for this. I would not be surprised to see a shop list this for that much. That's what I'm saying. Would I pay that much? No. Oh my God, no. That's so much money. And my record for the most I've spent on a guitar is $3K, and I am not eager to cross that threshold ever again if I can possibly help it. So, 9K at this point, pretty good. These days, my man could probably get a little bit more. And we all know what's about to happen, right? They're going to call in the expert.
Hey, I'm not a guitar expert, especially when it comes to stuff like this. If it was a Stratocaster, I'd be fine just on my own. But with the Jazzmaster, I'd like to bring in somebody to take a look at it.
Sure, that sounds great.
All right, I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Wow, look at this.
It's 1960.
62 Fender Jazzmaster.
Wow, Jazzmaster. Yeah, this is a great guitar. Fender designed this guitar specifically to attract jazz players. They had the Strat, which is one of the most iconic instruments in the entire world. So they thought, why don't we try and lure some of the jazz players into our world, and we'll design this offset guitar, the offset body style. They did this nice body scoop here.
Nice body
That
scoop.
when you're playing, sitting down, it's very comfortable the way it rests against your body, and your arm sits over this, and that was one of the real appealing features of this. These little knobs right here are really cool. What it does is this turns on special features on this pickup exactly. So these rollers control your bass and treble tones.
No, 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 no. Friends, we know this is incorrect. Now, I'm not trying to rag on our buddy Wolf here. Wolf seems like a cool guy, very knowledgeable. I like his giant Snake Plissken watch. I want one of my own someday. But friends, you and I, being keenly aware of offset guitars and how cool they are, we know that the rhythm circuit, brainchild of Forrest White, Fender's plant manager, who would be responsible for Fender keeping up with orders. The rhythm circuit does indeed activate the neck pickup only, but it runs it through its own special set of volume and tone controls, not a bass and treble network like you might find on a G&L. That special set of controls is a 1 meg volume and a 50K tone with a 0.02 capacitor, the intention being that you'd flick the rhythm circuit switch up to activate these controls, and that would be your main syrupy rhythm sound, flipping down when it was time to take a solo and stand out from the jazz band. With the rhythm circuit, there exists a world of dark, syrupy, blooming clarity, and I cannot implore you enough to keep trying to use it because it is one of my favorite sounds on any guitar I own. However, we all know that most people don't use it, and I get that because it's weird, it's different, but weird and different, that's the spice of life. For those interested, if you do want a bass and treble network on your rhythm circuit instead, I believe Rothstein Wiring Harnesses does offer that mod as an option, so look there if you're after that sound. But bass and treble, that's not what this does.
When you're just on this pickup. And what that did was it kind of allowed your jazz player to dial in that more jazzy sound.
That's correct.
Original frets? No fretwork.
Everything on the guitar is original, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, nice. It's been loved, you can tell. Little buckle rash there. Looks like it earns its stripes. That's good. Flame maple neck. You can kind of see the flame on that right there.
Did you know that Leo Fender famously didn't care for flame maple? Legend has it that he believed it was a weaker wood and thus not suitable for necks, so it's really special when we find a Fender with a piece of flame maple like this. That's really cool, and that itself could indeed carry a premium as well.
People really love flame maple. It's beautiful because it has that tiger stripe pattern, and flame maple's a really great neck. It has a real certain tonality to it.
That watch is equal parts hilarious and amazing. I don't know if I'm brave enough.
Everything I'm seeing in this guitar is original, and it looks like it still has the original case as well. Oh yeah, orange inside is always a pretty good sign. It's the old Fender cases were lined with this really kind of nice crushed orange velvet. So that looks original too. So wow, got everything here is all original.
So I want to take a moment to point out that this is, again, a TV show, and you're not seeing a genuine representation of what the authentication process is like when you're buying a vintage guitar, especially as a guitar shop, because you will notice that he doesn't take the guitar apart. He doesn't inspect its parts individually. He doesn't pull the pickguard and inspect the routs for signs of a refinish. He doesn't look at the brass shielding tubs to make sure they're intact. He doesn't look for pencil dates on the body. He doesn't look for pencil dates or a neck stamp on the heel of the neck. And these are all things that you absolutely have to do if you're going to buy a guitar of this age. You've got to know whether or not the pickups are original or if the wiring's been touched. You want to look at the neck pocket to see if the finish has been tampered with, because in '62, Fender started using a paint stick rather than the Lazy Susan contraption that they were using. And so pre-'62 guitars often have a completely painted over neck pocket, whereas after '62 into '63, you start seeing the paint stick, which is where like half of the neck pocket is missing finish. So these are all things we'd be looking for if we were truly inspecting the guitar for sale. Again, TV show, they're not going to show you everything, but I just want you to be aware that this is not how this goes.
So there has to be somebody out there collecting them. How collectible are they?
For the guitar player that has a Fender Strat or like a Gibson Les Paul or whatever, you want something that gives you a different tone, this is definitely your next buy.
So
This statement I sort of take umbrage with, but not in a serious way. Like, if you've got the other bases cover, sure, pick something up that's weird and different. I get that. It feels like this statement comes from that like guitar mentality where like, you know, Jazzmaster's not up to spec with the big boys. It can't run with the big dogs. And it's a lesser instrument, and that may not be what Wolf means at all. But I have chosen it as my main instrument because I love that sound. And so for me, you know, a Tele might be supplemental, whereas for a normal guitar player who's not obsessed with offsets, the Jazzmaster is supplemental. So it's a fair statement, but a lot of us tend to choose Jazzmasters because we love the sound, we love the look and the feel, not because we're trying to supplement our other guitar offerings. So yeah.
tell me, what do you think it's worth?
Let's see, 62 off-white, matching headstock, all original, really good condition with the original case and everything. Jeez, I'd say 8,000, 8,500 maybe.
Again, this was probably filmed in late 2019 or early 2020, so that's still around market. That's not totally unfair. Although I'm starting to see this pattern that always crops up in Pawn Stars where they talk them down. That's what you do in negotiations. You try and meet in the middle or whatever. But let it be known that my man could get more selling it himself on Reverb, although that is its own world of headaches that he may not want to deal with. So let's see how the negotiation goes.
All right, well, I appreciate you coming down.
Oh, thanks for having me.
That watch.
So I'd like to offer you about 6,000.
I mean, this is a negotiation. You go low and you come back up. Like, I know that stinks. I know some of you are like, that sucks. But I don't know. That's how it goes. It's, like I said, you meet in the middle. And so that is a low ball. Personally, I don't want to spend too much on a guitar. I don't personally buy things for myself unless they're a deal. And generally only guitars with problems at this point, because I know I'm very hard on my instruments. All of my instruments have incredible scratches on them because I pick really hard or I throw them around. But this is a shop, and this is a really cool, interesting guitar that is purportedly all original. So six is probably under, but again, a shop has to make money. Like, there's got to be margin or else it's not worth it. So like buying a guitar that's only worth $500 more than you're buying it for, that doesn't make any sense. So I get it. Okay.
I need to make money.
Can you go like 8,500 on it?
No, but I can do 6,500.
You got 75?
I'll go $6,700. That's the most I can do.
All right.
67?
Ah, he gave up too quick. I feel like he should have gotten 7. I feel like what is the percentage? What's the percentage? How do I do percentages? Okay, I can't do math, but my calculator tells me that 7 is 77% of 9, and that means this is like a 23% lower deal, and that's right around where I would go. I mean, I think most shops operate at like a 30% margin rule, so we're like in the ballpark. And if he'd stuck to his guns, he's like, I'm not selling for below 7, I think he could have gotten it. Although these Pawn Stars boys are rough and tumble customers, am I right? Yeah, so I think he could have stuck in the game a little bit longer, but he's only $300 off from what I think might have been a little more fair. That's not too bad. He seems sort of happy. They're shaking hands. Look at these friends. They're gonna go through life together and go on many other adventures. But I think again, he could have sold this on Reverb for what he was asking at the time. But again, he's definitely an older guy. He may not want to deal with the headache of like taking those photos and answering the questions and dealing with lowballs. Like selling yourself is a headache sometimes, especially if you're doing it on Craigslist. The kind of jokers you get on Craigslist, that can be frustrating. So it may be worth it to him to just sell it to someone who's willing to do that legwork, and that makes sense to me. So at the time, 7,000 for a shop. That's not too bad. They will probably sell it for 9 or maybe more. I don't know. Pawn Stars could probably also command a premium because they're such a famous shop, so that may also be in play. But this isn't so bad pre-pandemic. Now this guy should have walked out with at least 10K, but you know, we'll see.
Cool. Meet me over there. We're going to do some paperwork, okay?
All right. Thank you very much. I think that's a fair deal for everyone.
Well, he's happy.
I'm going to take the $6,700 and buy something very nice for my wife.
Whoa! Okay, my man's got a wife that he wants to buy a present for, and $6,700 can buy one hell of a gift for your wife. Carissa, what can I buy you that would be $6,700?
A vacation.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a really good point. A vacation. Maybe I should take some of my guitars to the Pawn Stars in Las Vegas. But it seems like he's happy. It seems like he got what he wanted. I mean, look at that smile. Look at that grin. He is a satisfied customer, and I love to see it. So I would say this is a pretty successful episode of the Pawn Stars. I don't really have a huge amount of criticism for how they handled this one, but this wasn't so bad for the time in which it existed. So yeah, I don't know. I give this a C. I give this a C rating. They didn't go all in on inspecting the guitar, but the guy is happy. He got a sort of fair price, but he, you know, if he had just waited a little longer, ooh, sky's the limit. Anyway, I hope this video was educational and informative, or at the very least, entertaining. You know, send me some more videos with Jazzmasters in it, and I'll evaluate them and react to them and get sued by the Fine Brothers. But it is fun to talk about these things because I've been in the industry so long, and I've owned a guitar shop. I know what the procedure is like and the negotiation process, and it's kind of fun to give sort of an insider's position on what we're seeing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, doing all of that good algorithm stuff. It's the best. And also a quick shout out to my supporters on Patreon. If you too would like to know how you can support the channel, please click the link in the description box. With all that said, I think it's time to wrap up. I'm not wearing a Snake Plissken watch, but I do have to get going. I hope that you are taking care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next video.